Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Bakso team. So today we will present about the material from MKWU Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris, teaching approach, methods and technique. So before we start, let me introduce ourselves. My name is Rismayanti.
My name is Milastari. And my name is Laing Ayu.
So the first speaker will present by Ayu.
Okay, so in the first slide, we are going to tell you about teaching approach. Teaching approach is a set of principles, beliefs, or ideas about nature or learning which is translated into the classroom. So there are several examples of teaching approaches. The first one is teacher-centered approach. The teacher is perceived to be the only reliable source of information in contrast to the learner-centered approach. And the second one is learner-centered approach, in which it is premised on the belief that the learner is also an important resource because he or she too knows something and is therefore capable of sharing something. And the third one is subject matter centered approach. Subject matter gains primacy over that of the learner. And the next, teacher dominates approach. In this approach, only the teacher's voice is heard. He or she is the sole dispenser of information. And the next is banking approach. The teacher deposits knowledge into the empty minds of students for students to commit to memory. And then the next is interactive approach. In this approach, an interactive classroom will have more students talk and less teacher talk. Students are given the opportunity to interact with the teacher and with other students. And the next is constructivist approach. The students are expected to construct knowledge and meaning out for what they are taught by connecting them to prior experience. And the last is disciplinal approach. It limits the teacher to discussing his or her lesson within the boundary of his or her subject. So, in the next slide will be presented by Rismayanti.
So I will present about the material teaching method. Teaching method is a systematic way of doing something. It implies an ordinary logical arrangement of steps. Teaching method is not productional. So, for example, lecture method. That is, teaching methods by conveying information and knowledge verbally to a number of students who generally follow passively. And then, discussion method. Muhyiddin Shah defines that the method of discussion is teaching method that is very closely related to solving problems. And then, demonstration method. Demonstration method is method of a teaching by demonstrating the goods, events, rules, and sequence of carrying out an activity, both directly and through the use of teaching media that are relevant to the subject or material being present. And then, recitation method is a teaching method where the students are required to make a resume with their own sentence. And then, the experimental method is a method of giving opportunities to individual or group students to be trained to do process or experiment. And then the method of tourism is a teaching of method that is designed in advance by educator, and it is expected the students make report and are discussed together with other students and accompanied by educator, which are then recorded. So the second So the last speaker will be present by Yuni.
I'm gonna tell teaching technique. Teaching technique is well-defined procedure used to accomplish a specific activity or task. Example of teaching technique: 6 teaching technique you should know. First, private classroom. Imparting your class. The private classroom model basically involves a student to prepare for the lesson before class. The class becomes a dynamic environment in which students elaborate on what they have already studied. Students prepare a topic at home so that class the next day can be devoted to answering any question they have about the topic. And next, decide thinking. This technique is based on resolving real-life cases through group analysis, brainstorming, innovation, and creative ideas. Also, decide thinking is a structured method. In practice, it can be quite messy, as some cases might have two possible solutions. Next, self-learning. Curiosity is the main driver of learning. As a basic principle of learning, it makes little sense to force students to memorize large streams of text they will either reluctantly recall or instantly forget. The key is to let students focus on exploring an area which interests them and learn about it for themselves. Next, gamification. Learning tools. The use of games is one the teaching method. They have already been explored, especially in elementary and preschool education. By using games, students learn without even realizing. Next, social media. A variant of the previous section into applies social media in classroom. Students today are always connected to their social network and so will need little motivation get them engaged with social media in the classroom. And the last, free online learning tools. There is an array of free online learning tools available which teachers can use to encourage engagement, participation, and a sense of fun into the classroom. Teachers can create an interactive and dynamic classroom environment using, for example, online quiz to test students' knowledge.
Okay, so the last slide, we are going to tell you about the difference between teaching approach, teaching method, and teaching technique. Approach in learning and teaching language is defined by Brown as a theoretical framework that covers the application of language learning in the scope of education. Some of the learning approaches that we often hear are communicative approaches and humanistic approaches. Furthermore, Brown defines technique as the preparation of activities in learning to achieve the desired learning goals, whereas the method bridges the two. The method gives points what must be done in the learning, for example, direct methods, audiolingual methods, and etc. Okay, so that's all from our presentation. Thank you so much for your attention and for your watching. I'm Lady.
I'm Industari. I'm Rismayanti.
Let's we say wassalamualaikum
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Thank you.